Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Sackhoff Show. I am in studio for today's episode. I am so excited to be here and I cannot wait to have you guys listen to this guest. I'm really excited. Before we do that, I want to remind you all that you can leave your questions and your comments at the sackoffshow@gmail.com. We love to answer your questions and make sure you stick around for the hindsight afterwards because I'm in studio, which means Jeff and I are in the same room. We're in the same room, you guys. This is crazy. I'm super excited, but I'm also excited about today's guest. So my guest today has been in World of Warcraft, Pacific Rim, the new Star Trek, Section 31, and Captain Marvel. I adore him. It is Rob Kazinsky. I had never met Rob. We start out talking about the fact that we have to have friends in common because we're in so many of the same similar projects and we're both total nerds and love sci-fi. So we think we have a million friends in common, but we couldn't actually figure it out. And we've never worked together. So this was one of those interviews where I go in blind. I don't know the person. And I had such a fun time researching him and learning about his life. And I start out the interview by telling him that he's complicated. He is complicated. He's so interesting and he's had struggles in his life and in the industry and ups and downs, but he is resilient and so talented and he's so honest and forthcoming in this interview. And it's really wonderful. You will get to know him very, very well, as I did. And I think he might be one of my new really great friends. In fact, we're already texting each other. I also want to let you guys know, because it is about the podcast, that I am going to be at Indiana Comic-Con March 14th, 15th, and 16th. It's one of those days, or two of those days signing. But one of those days, I believe it's Friday the 14th, we are doing a live podcast show. I'm so excited. We're going to do a live interview with a guest. We're also going to do a hindsight. I'm trying to rope Jeff into coming with me. It's going to be great. Please get your tickets. There are only 500. So please be one of those 500. There's different tiers. It's going to be great. There's a meet and greet. I can't wait to see you there at Indiana. It's Indie Film and Comic-Con. We will put a link in here for you guys to go check it out. And I cannot wait to see you in Indiana very, very soon. The website to go get information is about, what is it, Jeff?
IndianaComicConvention.com.
IndianaComicConvention.com. And you can go get your tickets and get all the information there. But I'm so excited to see you. Please come out. So enjoy this episode. Stick around for the hindsight. And I will see you then. And we're going to talk all about Star Trek. It's going to be great. So enjoy the episode with my new friend, Rob Kazinsky. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm absolutely thrilled to be here talking to you. I am such an admirer and such a fan.
Oh, thank you.
When this request came in, I was like, wait. Katee Sackhoff wants to talk to me? Why? I was so happy about it. So, I'm thrilled to be here and thrilled to meet you.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. I'm really excited as well. When I saw your name, I was like, of course I want to talk to Rob. I'm super excited. I find you to be fascinating.
Oh God.
And so we don't know each other.
No.
I don't think we have any friends in common.
I bet we've got about 1,000. I mean, I'm sure that you and I move in the exact same circles and we've just shipped in the night. You know what I mean?
Sure, well, we're in the same genre, sort of. So I'm sure we have a lot of the same acquaintances, but we've never met or anything. Nope. But I know of you and your life. And when I was doing research, I was like, that's right. You're complicated.
That is yeah, I would say I'm complicated. I think that comes with being born with disabilities. But yes, I am. I can certainly say I am. I hope I am.
Yeah. You say being born with disabilities.
Oh,
What
I'm a diagnosed autistic, which I didn't
are you?
know. Yeah, I didn't know until I was 30, which was a whole what a life moment that was, finding that out. By the way, it's like imagine going through your life with one leg and you never know you've only got one leg, and then suddenly at 30 years old you go, oh wait, what? People have two? That's what that was for me. Like it was a whole thing.
Really?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Did you always feel different?
Not really. No, not really. I always wondered why I struggled with unfairness and injustices as much as everybody else. I always wondered why I cared about things that were wrong more than everybody else seemed to. I was never able to let things go. If someone was a bad person, I wasn't able to be nice to them. I found, what, autism is a spectrum disease. Well, I hate to call it a disease because I don't believe it is a disease. I think it's a superpower personally. But it is a spectrum disorder, as they like to refer to it. And obviously, I'm at a very shallow end of the spectrum. And there are much worse iterations of autism out there. But, it does affect, it makes you feel like you're on the outside of the joke all the time. It makes you feel like why don't I understand what these people are laughing about? Why don't I understand what these people feel when somebody's upset about something? Sometimes it can be hard to understand why they would be upset about something so minor. And for me, it was always about emotional regulation. My thing that I always struggled with was, it was always like you fill up it's a straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing. You would never get upset about these horrible things that are happening to you, these terrible things in the world. And you feel the things that you read on the news so personally, so strongly, and then it sits in you and you don't really have a way of letting it out. And then one day you drop a spoon and you break and you're crying, sobbing on the floor about the spoon for like 6 hours, but it's not about the spoon. And when I got diagnosed at 30, I was living in LA and, we go to therapists in America, which we don't in England, believe it or not. But when I was diagnosed at 30 and suddenly there's a how-to book, and you realize that you're kind of cookie cutter and that actually there are all of these things that you can kind of do and have healthy boundaries and battle your natural tendencies towards feeling too much or all these kind of things. And you see the signs in so many people who are undiagnosed and you just wish that you could help them because even the smallest amount of knowledge about autism changed my life dramatically for the better.
So
what a way to start, by the way.
Well, I mean, hello, out the gates. I identify with this so much. So your life, did it all just sort of make sense? Were you just like, did you sort of like flash through a reverse of your life and all of these moments started going,
yes.
Oh yeah, that makes sense now. That makes sense now. That makes sense now. And what did the people around you think when you told them? You obviously have told them. I can't be the first person.
Well, no, Katee, you are. I'm just such a fan. I wanted you to be my...
Watch out, Barbara Walters.
Yes,
Here
exactly.
I come.
Well, it's funny because I'm 41 now, and when I was at school, it wasn't a thing. They were still figuring out what dyslexia was. It wasn't a thing. There wasn't the resources. Like it only was when I was about 30 that it was becoming a topic of, okay, if you are autistic, maybe you don't exhibit like Rain Man. Maybe there are different versions of it and you learn about those things. And my therapist was like, you should go and see a specialist in autism. I was like, why? What are you saying? And I went and I did the test and I was diagnosed. And suddenly you look back through your life and you go, oh my goodness. If I had known when I was 15, 20, 25, 29, if I had known at any point in my life previous to that, I would have had a much happier life. And I'm just grateful that I found out at 30, and then it took 5 or 6 years to learn how to properly protect myself, know how to set boundaries, and know how to not let things go, but to how to process the horrible things that you see and the horrible things you experience into manageable stress, that I was able to figure out, happiness is a thing you can actually get. You can actually, it's a place you can actually reach. So yeah, and when I told the people around me, a lot of them were like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty obvious. I can't believe it took you 30 years to figure that out." So you know, I'm surrounded by good people, and they a lot of them loved learning about autism as I learned about autism.
Do you feel like autism makes you a better actor?
No. You know, it's an interesting question. Duncan Jones, the amazing director of Warcraft and Mute and all those brilliant movies, he said something once, and it stuck with me forever. And it was, you know, why are the arts filled with majoritively left-leaning liberal people? Why is that? And he said it was because if you are in the arts, your job is to empathize with a character, what they're going through, recreate that kind of stuff. And he said that leads you inevitably to, no matter whether you should or not, empathize with everybody. Even the worst of people, you go, okay, but why do they feel that way? Why did they do this? Why were they, you know, you think about Javier Bardem in No Country for Old Men and things like that. And you just go, okay, but why? What happened to him? And you inevitably go down a path of empathizing and trying to understand and then bring that out. And I think that's why I don't think that my autism makes me a better actor, other than I can read a page of dialogue once and then I never have to read it again.
That is a superpower.
I knew that's the love that reaction. I am so unbearably lucky with that. I don't learn lines. I read it once and it's in, and it's infuriating for people. My best friend Ben, we lived together in LA for 10 years, and he would get 3 pages of dialogue, and he would spend a week just writing it out, learning it, kind of thing. I mean, you know what it's like when you get tapes, and thank God they're only sending 8 pages now. But you used to get a 20-page stuff. And I would just, my friends want to kill me for that. But I don't think the autism has benefited my ability to act anymore. I think that the most important thing to be a decent actor is just to be able to empathize, full stop.
I was diagnosed with ADHD at 43. How old am I now? 44. So 42 maybe. And all of a sudden, the therapist said it to me, and I was a little confused because I was like, no. You're talking about my brother. Like, I don't have ADHD. Like, it's not possible. And I came home and I told my husband, and he went, oh no, you absolutely do.
Yeah, like how did you not know, kind of thing.
You absolutely do. And I started to actually read about ADHD, and I was like, oh my God, everything I thought it was, you know, the kid in school that can't sit still, which is not me. I just made it a superpower. You know, I can do a million things at once. My brain moves a million miles a minute. Like I just thought that I was a really good multitasker. And, you know, but I struggled so hard with communication. I struggled so hard looking people in the eye when I was talking to them. I struggled really hard not interrupting people. And I just thought it was that I was rude and that I was raised in a family of people who talk over each other. Little did I know that that was actually my ADHD, because I can't hold on to a thought long enough. So I got to get it out as soon as I have it. So I've had to learn to communicate all over again and actually look people in the eye and let them talk, especially having a podcast. People don't want me to talk over them, come to find out.
It's funny because ADHD and ADHD have a lot of similarities, and they often get misdiagnosed as each other. But
really?
It's exactly that. It's one of the funny things that I think that ADHD and ADHD have together is that when somebody's telling you a story and you have a story that's similar, you go, yes, I also have this story. But normal people go, what, why are you trying to gazump my story? You're like, no, I'm just showing that I understand.
I'm empathizing with you.
And empathizing, exactly like that. Look at me, empathy.
Look at me relating to you.
Well, imagine what it would have been like, though, because we're the same age. If the resources that we have now had been available when we were kids, you're an incredibly productive, multitasking, all these kind of things. And when you take your Ritalin or whatever they give you for your ADHD, and suddenly you're like, oh, I can singularly focus and I can get things done. You just go, what would my life have been had there been help when I was younger?
I question, because I've thought about this a lot, and I've thought about, because I have children, and I've thought about what if, and there's a part of me, for me personally, that is almost happy I didn't know sooner, because I'm also a person who loves procrastination. And there's a part of me that thinks that I maybe would have used it as a crutch to have an excuse for failure, as opposed to push through things and force my success, if that makes any sense.
That makes total sense. There's a real tendency, by the way, and you see it a lot with people that, especially are diagnosed with autism, that they go, no, I'm not an arsehole. I'm just have autism, as if that's an excuse. And it's absolutely not. There is nothing that gives you an excuse to be a bad person, but a lot of people will hide behind a diagnosis and expect you to make room for that. And it's not. Whatever your problem is, whatever you struggle with, and I genuinely, hand on my heart, believe that the vast majority of people walking around today fit on one spectrum or another. I don't know anybody that has it all together. That probably have some kind of. This is why I hate calling it disorder, because I just believe they're personality types.
I agree.
And I really feel that if you have whatever your personality type is, it is inherent upon you to make sure that your personality type isn't pointing its spikes outwards.
When you were growing up, do you think that autism sort of made you or instigated you in fighting back and being reactive? Because a lot of the things that have followed you are the things that in researching you, the things that sort of stick out are things that could be considered reactionary, potentially.
Go on, tell me the things and we'll go into them.
So I read a story, like you being kicked out of school.
Yeah.
And being stereotypically bad student.
That's a common story, yeah. But that's a common story for a lot of people that are ADHD and that have autism, by the way. Like I was never an idiot. I was a very clever kid. I had a very high IQ, but I'm not. You have a high IQ in one area doesn't mean you're smart in all the areas. And a lot of people really struggle with school and academia and formulaic ways of learning, which is why I'm such a big fan of Montessori. The idea of a Montessori school.
Me too.
I did not fit in a regular school. I found it so boring. I found it so non-challenging. I couldn't pay attention, and I can in my entire life of education, with 2 good teachers. And you remember those good teachers. You really do, and most of them don't care. And in England, we don't have private schools. Well, you do if you're very rich, but I certainly wasn't. So it was a regular school with everybody else, and those schools were not set up for people like you and I. And they're not set up for the vast majority of people. So when I was at school and I was bullied, for being different and for being weird, I checked out. I became a bully to avoid the bullies. I was always big and strong. And whilst I think of myself as an incredibly gentle person, I always was incredible. I've moved through my entire life trying not to accidentally hurt people. I am a klutz, and I am a very strong. Imagine just a big bear that just also bumps into things all the time. That's me.
Are you accident prone?
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
So am I.
It's like I don't see walls.
Either do I. I run into walls daily. Daily. And my husband's like, it didn't move.
Yeah, and it's where it's always been. This is your house. Like, you must know your way around by now. Yeah. So school was like that for me. I just found it boring and I wanted to avoid being bullied. So I did crazy things to make the bullies leave me alone. And then in my final year, I had an arm wrestle with one of the teachers. I was the school arm wrestling champ. And none of the other kids could beat me. And so they tried to get the teachers to arm wrestle me. And a few of them agreed, and I would arm wrestle all the teachers. And then Jason Graham, my Spanish teacher, who was one of the good teachers, he arm wrestled me and I broke his arm.
Stop.
It shattered like in my hand.
Stop.
And that was the end of his career as a teacher. And that was the end of my career as a student.
That's shitty.
Yeah.
He was
pretty
fired over that?
He was fired over it, yeah. And he worked he's still a teacher now, but like, it was, he was one of the good teachers as well. And he shouldn't have been arm wrestling a student, but
I guess not.
You try to engage, don't you? And he made me enjoy Spanish. But that got me kicked out of school and that was it. Straight out into the world.
This episode is brought to you by OneSkin. Let's talk about peptides for a minute, y'all. If you're like me, you're seeing them everywhere. But just because something says peptide on the label doesn't mean it's actually doing anything for you. That's where OneSkin's OS1 peptide is different. While some peptides sit on the top of the skin, OS1 goes deeper. It's scientifically formulated to penetrate the cells within the skin's deeper layers, improving key skin health markers like collagen production, hydration, and skin barrier functions. Not only that, OS1 is proven to remain stable from the lab to your countertop, so you get reliable results every time. Look, if you're not getting results from your peptide, it might be time to take a closer look. All of OneSkin's topical supplements are backed by lab and clinical studies, and they're all powered by the OS1 peptide, the first and only peptide scientifically proven to target the senescent cells that contribute to lines, wrinkles, and thinning skin. Try OneSkin with an exclusive 15% off your first purchase using code Sackhoff at oneskin.co. You guys, I've been using OneSkin now for a few months since they started sponsoring us, actually, and I love it. I use it all the time. I use the body lotion, which I really love, and I'm also using the eye cream and the face cream. My skin really does look and feel tighter. It's got more plump to it, and it looks brighter. Founded and led by an all-women team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS1 peptide, the first ingredient proven to help skin look, feel, and behave like its younger self. Get 15% off with code Sackhoff at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code Sackhoff. SACKHOFF. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Invest in the health and longevity of your skin with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you. Oh my God. Are film sets hard for you? Do you get along well in a sandbox with a lot of people, or do you find yourself do you protect who you are to make sure you don't bump people the wrong way, I guess?
It was funny when good question. When I found acting at 18 years old, I found it was my Ritalin. Suddenly I found a thing that had all my focus and that I loved. And I love being on sets. And I became an actor because I believe fundamentally that you can change the world quicker with a movie than you can as a politician. I think if you want to make the world a better place, you make films, you make songs, you make TV, you make media. That's what you do. I think, for for every piece of fluff out there, there's a Hotel Rwanda, there's a Schindler's List. There is some way that you can reach people. I mean, I guarantee you, if I'm say this to you now, there's going to be 2 or 3 films pop into your head. Do you remember a time in your life where you sat down to watch a movie, and then as that movie finished, you were a different person? Like it changed
many times.
Yeah.
Many times. So many I don't think I would be able to pick one, to be honest. Right? Because it's part of my brain can't think of something. Like as soon as we get off, we'll be like, that was the movie. But I think that I'm such a huge fan of cinema that I think I'm easily moved by things because I want to be moved by them. I want to have movies touch me. So I try to stay as open as possible. I cry every time I watch Moana.
I love Moana so much. Wait, which bit gets you?
So, I have crossed the ranks and to find you. When she's holding up the heart at Tafiti.
Oh, God, it's such a good
name. Because you see the fire god crawling, and I feel the pain of the fire god. Like, I feel her trauma and how she's beat down, and the world stole her heart, and she is just angry and scared. And I mean, like, it makes me cry now. And there's her heart is literally outside her body being held up. And
you see yourself in Tafiti, and you see yourself in Moana, right?
I do.
100%. 100%. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. That's what film does.
Yes.
What film does. That's what it's meant to do. I could say the same. I know I'm staying with the animated thing. You ever seen Inside Out?
You have?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Like that film for me, I think is one of the most important movies ever made. To teach
for little kids.
For everybody. I don't care. Yeah. It teaches you that all of these things, anger, sadness, they all have to exist and they all have their place. Oh, it was one of the most, like, if I had seen that when I was 12, I'd have become a therapist for a start. Like, but that's the thing. I love this industry and I love doing this. And for me, the only things that I have ever really struggled with, hard to say. Should I say? I struggle working with people I know are bad people.
You and me both.
Yeah, and I have, I hope I don't get into much trouble, but who cares? I have been working on shows where I have seen things happen and I have physically picked people up and removed them from the studio, which has got me in lots of trouble many times. I struggle very hard to keep, when you know somebody is a bad human being or they've done bad things and everybody else. I mean, this industry is the most wonderful industry, but there are still, and Me Too has been a wonderful thing for balancing the scales, but you and I both know that there are so many people still walking around who people love, the public love, but they are not good people. I find that incredibly difficult to deal with. And especially, I don't have the luxury of turning down work, and sometimes you have to go and do things, and it's not always easy for somebody like me. And the other thing about the autism thing is, you want to be liked.
I know, so bad.
You can't help but overthink things. And when you're told that, because like my thing is, if I like you, like if I really like you, like if you're one of my people, I believe that to show that love, I have to be honest with you about everything. And I'm being honest because of it. If I didn't love you, I wouldn't feel like I have to tell you that when you say, did I do bad? Yes, you did. Like, or my girlfriend would come and be like, hey, what do you think of this dress? I'd be like, well, And one thing that I did have to learn as I got older is that being honest is great, but you shouldn't be a dick and be honest. Like you have to pick and learn how to be honest and how to be direct and how to do all these things.
Tone matters.
Tone, that's it. Tone matters. And tone is what I have always struggled with. So, as I've gotten older, it has gotten much easier, but it certainly wasn't always.
So you don't have the luxury of turning things down, but your career, I mean, you lean into genre work, it seems like. Is that intentional?
It's a really good question. I've asked this question of myself so many times. I don't know. I don't know if it's intentional or if it's just luck. Because I love these things. You know, I got The Hobbit out of nowhere. You know, I hadn't done a film beforehand. I had just finished a British soap opera, EastEnders, and I hadn't worked for a couple of years, and I was really broke and I was really struggling. And then because I know what a dwarf should look like and sound like, and I knew the world, I smashed the audition. And I got the job. And then after that was Pacific Rim. And when I was on Pacific Rim, I was playing World of Warcraft on set between takes, because you had 12 hours sometimes between takes. And the producers of Pacific Rim were making Warcraft the movie. So that led into that. And then there was I haven't sought out genre work on purpose, but I couldn't have done better in the genre that I love if I tried. It has found me, and it has, you know, I couldn't have been, only if I had managed to be in Battlestar would I think that the whole collection was complete. Honestly, I love Battlestar. Because like Star Trek's my thing, right? Star Wars is not.
Okay.
And I hate the false equivalence, by the way, because I don't think that they should ever be in the same conversation. But they, for some reason, because they both have the word star in it, they are.
I think, and they both existed for so long.
For
I think
such a long period of time. And I go through all the other ones, you know, your Babylon 5s, your Andromedas, all of these kind of things. I'm like,
seen them all.
Yeah, they're not Trek. But Battlestar, your Battlestar, was unreal. It was so special. I mean, the entire cast were unbelievable. You were unbelievable. The music was unbelievable. It's the only thing that stands up. Well, that and maybe Firefly.
Well, there you go. You've just named the two that are on the list.
Yeah, isn't it?
Did you ever talk to Guillermo del Toro about Battlestar?
I must have. I can't imagine I wouldn't have.
Come to find out, he's a huge fan.
Love that. I love that. That doesn't surprise me at all. Guillermo and I would just sit there and nerd out. We barely worked. Like we would just sit there and just talk about just the things we love. We would talk about like the makeup that he did on Blade and all of the different things and the monsters that we love from film. Like that dude is the biggest nerd you will ever meet. And I love it. He is the king of our people.
I've always wanted to work with him. You've worked with him twice?
No, just the one time.
Okay.
He's a saint of a man. I love him. I'm hoping we get to do something again soon, but he is, he has this little sketchbook and he's always drawing out storyboards as he's going because he's changing the shots in his head all the time. And he'll run over to you and be like, hey, Rob, look what I made. And he'd show you all these things and he'd be like so excited about it like a kid. And he was an absolute joy. He was a joy.
Yeah?
Yeah, if there's ever the chance, you've got to hunt him down and make sure that you do something with him because he's a brilliant man.
Oh, that makes me happy. Did you audition for Battlestar Galactica?
No, never. No, never. No, wish I had, but I think.
Were you acting in 2001?
No, I wasn't. I was still at drama school. But I well missed that one. It's what got me through drama school.
Really?
All of that. Well, I guess, we didn't even have streaming services then. It was after the fact that I really kind of fell in love with that stuff. But drama school was a misery.
When Star Trek came across your desk, like when you became aware of it, were you just, I mean, I would kill to be in Star Trek.
They would have you in 5 seconds. Are you kidding? I'm literally going to go tell Kurtzman right now. I'm going to be like, Katee Sackhoff said, and he'll be on your phone in like 20 minutes. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? You did The Mandalorian and then come here? Like, are you kidding?
I have been desperate to have like a trifecta because my dad raised me on Star Trek. I mean, I got to work with George Takei on Big Bang Theory. And it like made my dad. My dad is the biggest dork in the entire world. And like every sci-fi project I get, I feel like in some way I'm getting or doing or pursuing because my dad will be excited.
My mum. Yeah. Say, this is her favorite show. Yeah, that's exactly the same.
God, yeah, I feel that. And my dad would be like, shit, you're in Star Trek? Yes, finally.
For me, it's the crown on the outfit. You know, all the other things are, I love all the sci-fi out there and stuff, but Star Trek is the crown for me. It doesn't get bigger and better for me. For the same thing, my mum, she was the one who got me into it. Like, we're gonna get you on Star Trek, 100%. That's happening. But if we do Section 31 sequel, which is what we're really hoping for, I'm gonna make sure you're gonna be in it. You're joining Section 31. It's gonna happen. You hear it first.
Well, I'll be in Section 31. Yeah. I'm down. So this movie, because I watched the movie.
Okay.
This is not your typical Star Trek. Like, Star Trek is usually told from the perspective of the Starfleet. So what was it about this from this perspective that was intriguing to everyone involved? And who did you guys make the movie for? Because it is not typical Star Trek.
Yeah, it's not typical Star Trek. And there's a lot of people are upset that we're even making this film.
Why?
Because Roddenberry promised us something different. Roddenberry promised us that we were past the need for this. That we lived in this society where we had evolved past racism, past these kind of conflicts, we don't live in a capitalist society in the future. There's no currency. You have replicators. Nobody's starving. We were promised that all of these horrifying things that are happening to us today, everything that's being made to tear us apart, the assault on truth and the assault on kindness and the assault on democracy, that none of this would apply anymore, that we would be better. And so the idea that there would still be a Section 31, a nefarious Black Ops group doing nefarious Black Ops things in the name of the Federation, it appalls a lot of Star Trek fans. And I totally get that. But at the same time, like, I don't know how well you know Trek. I mean, I'm microscopic on my detail on it. I know everything. The autistic fascination from 8 years old. Sisko has this wonderful quote in DS9 where he says, "It's easy to be a saint in paradise." When everything is taken care of you and you're completely safe, and you don't have to worry about being murdered for your ethnicity, your gender, your sexuality, or any of those things. Yeah, you don't have to worry. You can live as well as you can in that Federation. You don't have to worry about the Tau Shiar or the Obsidian Order or the Founders or the Dominion, who don't have our moral relativism, but do share different ideas of what's right. And if you want to protect the rights of people to live safely, to live securely, to love whoever they want to love, to not be subject to a nationalist empire like the Terran Empire, which is human-centric, then you have to have people that know how to fight to protect that might themselves have to go into dark areas to make sure that you never see them. And I find the idea of Section 31, which shouldn't be a single block, but Section 31 is the idea of, nobody joined the CIA because they wanted to do bad things, even though the CIA has been responsible for so many bad things in the history of the world. You join because you want to do good for the world. You want to keep the world safe. Sometimes you go off on an errant path. I think that Section 31 can encompass all of those elements. And when it becomes really interesting is when it's not just about keeping the boundaries of the Federations safe, but overstepping in a, national surveillance, NSA kind of way that we're also afraid of, this Orwellian idea of our government imposing upon our rights when we don't even know it. I think Section 31 broadens the ideas of what the Federation can be. I think it makes Star Trek so much more accessible and so much more interesting. And as somebody who has always struggled in life just with living, the idea that it's never too late to start a new life, you can be redeemed and you can help people and save people. I find Section 31 to be the core of what Starfleet and the Federation is about, not the antithesis in any way.
It sort of shows the underbelly and the sort of like the nasty side of Star Trek.
Yeah.
I personally agree with you. I don't like black and white. I like gray. And I find the story so interesting. I find it so interesting that these people exist in the same world that
Mhm.
Roddenberry created. Like, not look at them separately, but look at them as like they exist in these worlds. Like I like that. I like that you know, that it does go against, because I don't know, that perfect world where, you know, like you said, everybody can be great on a good day.
Yeah.
That's not real.
What if you're
You know?
autistic? You know, but what if you are autistic? What if you're ADHD? What if you do have these things? Are you going to be ostracized from a perfect society? Like where is the gray? Like, even if the Federation is a wonderful place, there's still going to be people that are born different. There's going to be born strange. And there is this kind of, you know, I love the idea of the utopian society and what we're trying to reach for and all of these kind of things, but there has to be a space for everybody. There has to be a space for people that are scared and people that are cowards. And there has to be a space for people that want to do well, but they're afraid to, or people that have emotional disturbances, or people that are afraid to leave the house. Like, well, at what point do we reach where we say you don't belong in our perfect utopian society? And, you know, you can sit there and say, well, none of those problems would exist. But then I don't feel represented in the Federation. You know,
Right.
as somebody that education wasn't for, that struggled with dealing with things, I wouldn't feel represented by that Federation. I want to see somebody in the Federation say, hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with you. You are imperfect and you are part of this world too. And that's why I love Section 31. It's for people like you and I and most 99% of the world who aren't perfect people.
Are there people within the Star Trek world that didn't want Section 31 to happen? Like, in the Roddenberry world? Like, meaning, you know, for me, I've always been under the impression that the more good sci-fi, the better.
Yes.
So I always find it interesting when there's people like the infighting, because there's a lot of different Star Trek shows at this point. This is the first, Section 31, correct me if I'm wrong, is the first non-theatrical Star Trek movie.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
Yes, it is.
So are there people within the Star Trek camp that didn't want this movie to happen, or are you just talking about fans?
I'm talking about fans. No, everybody that's making Trek these days, they're all on the same page. It's like, you know, we got to widen our audience and make a new Trek for everybody and bring people in, because Trek's intimidating, man. It is intimidating. There are so many movies. There are so many shows. Like, where do you even begin? It ain't like going, Back to the Future. 1, 2, then 3. It's a lot. And, you know, let's be honest, some of it has dated pretty badly. Some of it's pretty old out there, and some of it doesn't stand up. So where do you even tell people to begin? Well, this is what we made here. We tried to make something that isn't the Trek you're used to, but still has that warm embrace of existing in the Trek universe. You still feel comfortable in it. You should still know what it is if you know Trek. But if you don't know Trek, you should be able to watch this and go, I can feel that goodness. Yeah, Roddenberry said to Tunde, our director, you know, well, I think it was to Tunde, but it was, you know, 3 words that summarize Trek. And those words were, it is good. And I think all kind of good sci-fi is fundamentally, it is good. It should make you feel good. It is goodness personified. You know, other than like the Ridley Scott version of the future, which is, it is definitely not good out there. You know, like,
they're coming to get you.
Yeah, there's the dark sci-fi out there, and then there is the it is good sci-fi, and I think Trek offers that. I don't know. It's a hard one. You're asking so many good questions that make me really think about. I don't know if it's because we started the conversation of talking about autism and all that kind of stuff, about the representation of those kind of things. Like, I don't know if people realize that Data is autistic. He's an autistic representation. And that
Interesting.
And that on every series you have it. You have Spock, you have Odo, you have Data,
right.
You have somebody who's struggling to understand what it is to be human. It's always on the outside of every single joke. Like, I feel represented by those characters. And I don't know about you, but I'm still learning how to be human.
I don't think anybody knows what it means to be human.
Correct.
So you're the character.
Yes.
For a person that memorizes lots of dialogue, were you like, give me more dialogue? Because your character was like a man of few words. Like he was like, I loved him. He was very funny. And I found him to be, I kind of feel like underneath his suit, he may have on a Hawaiian shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he's wearing sandals on his boots, 100%. Yeah. The thing about Zeph is he is good. They let us play. I don't know how they usually shoot Disco or any of the other shows, but we had 3 cameras running on this one. And they would let us improvise whatever we wanted. And we would just pass the ball to each other, and then it would end up with Michelle, then it would come to Amari, then it would come to me, then Sven, and we would just play. And they let us play so much and find so much. Like the script had so like outlines, and then we would come in and fill it out, and then Craig Sweeney, the writer, would come in and be like, say this, and throw something over the wall, call him a dickhead, and then we just and then we would run with that, and then it would go a different way. And there are probably 7 or 8 different versions of this movie. I think that last thing I was told is we added 80 pages of dialogue that they had to cut down to be the 95 that are in this movie. So I certainly felt that we get all the pieces of all the characters that we needed to get. But, the other thing is this is a 95-minute movie that should have been 3 hours or 2-3 movies. It should have been a TV show. You really want to spend more time with these characters. And if we leave them feeling like they want to see us again, then we get a sequel and we'll do 10 more or 20 more and maybe make a whole new series out of it. It all really comes down to Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah. Michelle's pretty busy.
Yeah.
You guys shot this right after she won her Oscar, right?
Yeah. A little after. Basically, she won the Oscar, and then they were struggling to get this made. It was going to be a TV show. Then COVID happened. Then the strikes happened, and it just kept.
Were you attached when it was meant to be a TV show?
No,
okay.
I didn't even know about it until 2 months before we started shooting.
Okay.
Basically, what happened? She won the Oscar, and they were like, "Oh well, we've lost Michelle. She's going to go off and work with everybody and be very busy." But she said that she won the Oscar, and she said the first thing I want to do is Section 31. And because she said that and she did that, the thing got financed. Paramount and CBS went, okay, here you do your thing and let us make this movie. Which, I would, and I'm sure you would do the exact same thing. But when a normal actor wins an Oscar, you think, well, they're probably going to go off and work with Spielberg next. So to have her use all of that power that she had shows how much she loves this universe, how much she loves Star Trek and all of those kind of things. And we're all here because of that power that she brought to bear. And thank you, Michelle.
Well, and a testament to how much she, as an actor, there are characters that we play where there's story left in the tank.
Yeah.
Have you ever walked away from a character and you still dream about them?
Yeah, I have. I do that actually all the time. I sit there having, what would they be doing? Yeah, all the time. I
do that too. And it feels to me like she's done that with Philippa. And that is why this happened. Yeah, she's actually been able to make her ponderings come true. Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Yeah, if I won an Oscar, I'd want to do the same thing. But right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, bang on. So how the heck does your character, if you guys do more, how the heck does your character come back?
Are we doing, this comes out after, isn't it? So we can do spoilers.
It comes out after.
Nobody's ever dead in Star Trek.
That's true.
When I read that script, and I started reading through and I was like, please don't die, please don't die, please don't die. Oh, you're the bad guy? Oh, you're not you're dead. Oh, crap. Kind of thing. I was so crushed. I was like, please don't die. And I had these shirts made that said, save Zeph. And I was going to have everybody walk past Kurtzman's office wearing one, just without saying anything all day, just please change the scripts and stuff like that. And we decided that the suit would keep him alive. And it would have a medical system in it that would bring him back. And that when I fall off the platform at the end, you hear me screaming, which shows that it's me in there and not
still alive.
That he's still alive. When you're doing these junkets and you're doing these jobs and everybody's always saying, this is the best cast I've ever been a part of. Like we loved each other. And you know that lie.
Mhm.
You know, this was genuinely from not shitting on the other cast I've been on, but like
Yeah.
this one from day one, we all fell in love with each other and
Mm.
like became best friends. And it wasn't a thing that I really, really saw coming. And the chemistry, I think, comes across quite well on screen. And I can't imagine the idea of us not doing this many, many more times. It's too special. It's too special a group of people. So if we do another one, we'll all be back and with Katee Sackhoff.
I'm coming back.
It's going to happen.
Do the powers that be know that you can't win everyone and they're not trying to? So the possibility of making more movies is not like everyone has to love it.
The powers that be are, I don't think the rest of the cast do. I mean, you and I know that no matter what you make, there's going to be people that hate it. And even if they don't hate it, they're going to pretend that they do because it's funny on the internet.
Right.
People hated TNG when it came out. They hated Discovery. They hated DS9. They hated Voyager. How dare you have a black Vulcan and female captain? Like they hated everything. But now they love it. And I've been preparing everybody. I'm like, listen, when this comes out tomorrow, we're going to get destroyed. We're going to be hated, and they're going to be saying really mean things about Michelle and you and us. They're going to call us bad actors. They're going to say they ruined Star Trek. And then in 2 years' time, they're going to attack anybody that says anything bad about it.
It is a really, really difficult thing sometimes to shut off the one negative comment and focus on the 100 positive comments.
I can't do it.
No, either can I. And so I don't look anymore. Because you just know that you can't. I've learned that. It took me a very long time to learn that, that you can't win them all. And, you know, there's billions of people in the world. You don't need all of them, you know?
Yeah, it's a really easy thing to say. It is. And it's absolutely true. I feel that in my bones. I haven't been able to put up a healthy barrier against it yet.
Yeah.
Like you still read that one thing, or somebody says something that even has the vaguest ring of truth, even if it's just truth adjacent, and it hits you in the soul. And these people don't understand. I mean, how was it? Battlestar was what, 4 seasons? How many seasons is it?
4.
4 seasons.
4 plus a few.
Yeah, so
like
that's
episodes.
That's years of your life. I mean, and you were 20, you were young doing that.
22 when we started the pilot, yeah.
And people will say the meanest thing. Like, you wouldn't ever dare say that to the people.
No.
You just hide behind your keyboard, and you don't understand the amount of love that goes into making these things, the amount of effort that goes into making these things, and not to make it good. And then you sit there and you want to tear it down. Why would you tear it down? Like,
you know, I think that's the thing that for me, that has really helped me sort of talk about empathy, that has helped me sort of not be okay with it, but have it not destroy me, is that I say to myself, it must be really, really sad to be that person. Yeah. What happened in that person's day or in their life that makes them feel good or get a high from being cruel online, anonymously, really. And I just feel really bad for them. I just feel really bad for them.
It goes back to what I said about if you have a personality disorder of any kind, whatever your personality type is, you've got to make sure that your spikes don't face outward. And for me, that's exactly what that is. It's people that don't know how to turn their spikes away from people outside of them. And yeah, it may not be in their control and it might be really difficult for them, but accountability is a large part of growth. And if you want something to be good, you encourage the good parts. You don't tear down the good parts just because you didn't like one bad part.
I completely agree. Have you, because you strike me as a nerd.
Yes.
And I say that because I am.
Yes.
do you go to sci-fi conventions?
I have. I've been to many, many of them. It's kind of harder to
Yeah?
go to them since I started being in sci-fi properties. But I've always really, it's my world. Like I remember when many years ago, I had was just breaking America for the first time with Pacific Rim and True Blood. I got asked to go and do a panel. I did it with it was me, Tudyk, Billion, and Zach Levi. And at the time, I was the hugest fan of all three of those guys, and a massive Brown Coat, massive Chuck fan of this kind of stuff. And it was the first time I had been not in the audience, but on the stage. And I couldn't. I still pinch myself about that moment in my life. I still can't believe that I'm in the things I love. Do you play Mass Effect?
No, I don't play video games.
Good for you. Well done. You've saved yourself a lot of time.
I grew up, my parents owned a pizza parlor, and I played like proper upright video games. Mm. We had a Nintendo growing up, and loved it. My brother got addicted to that, and I got addicted to sport. And
what was your sport?
I was a swimmer and a soccer player.
What was your position?
Well, I played left striker.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, they're very good.
Yeah.
I was not. I'm the worst footballer in the history of football. I did a TV show once where I was playing a professional footballer, and it was talk about casting the wrong person. It was so awful watching me do that. But video games.
Well, everyone just assumes that every English person plays soccer. Excuse me, football.
No. Soccer's fine. We'll take it. It's all fine. This is the universal debate. Is it trekker or tricky? It doesn't matter. If you like your thing, you like your thing.
So just because people will know, did you get to meet Jamie Lee Curtis? Was she there? Did you know she was in it?
No, I knew she was in it. Tunde told me early on in the process. But no, I didn't get to meet Jamie, I'm afraid.
She's wonderful.
Wish. Is she?
So I say that having worked with her in 1999.
Oh, so
and
recent.
have not seen her since. So I have no idea.
That
did a
matter.
Halloween movie with her. I still have my little pocket knife that she bought the entire cast.
Well, you know what?
I still have it.
You know what? When you do Station 31, the next movie, you'll be reunited with Jamie.
There you go. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's going to be great. I'm even more excited about it now.
Only if I can have an exoskeleton too, please.
No, you really don't want one.
Is it uncomfortable?
You must have worn similar things. I mean, I'm sure.
All of my suits are the Mando suit is uncomfortable because it's restrictive. It's not heavy. I've not worn like heavy suits. The Battlestar suit sucked because if it was cold, you're colder. If it's hot, you're hotter. But nothing like heavy, crazy like that. No.
This one was 50
I'm remembering.
pounds. Yeah, this one was 50 pounds. Yeah, and that was in the morning. In the end of the day, we would weigh me at the beginning and end of the days, and on a good day I'd lose 7 to 8 pounds of sweat. On a bad day, 15 pounds. It would collect in the suit. So the day starts, the suit weighs 50 pounds. At the end of the day, it's 50 pounds plus the sweat. Plus, there's only one suit. So for 4 months that we were shooting this, they didn't. We didn't have any stunt guys. My stunt guy was there, and he did one shot. The rest of the time, it was just me in that suit that didn't get washed once in 4.5 months. So that thing was right. It was uncomfortable. It was stiff. It hurt like hell. But I'm sure you've had those moments where you sit there and you're suffering and you go, you know what, the suffering will last for an hour or it'll last for a day, but the movie will last forever.
I try to remind myself that as they were sucking the cyst out of my shoulder, that you're in Star Wars, girl. You're in Star Wars. Just let them suck it. Just close your eyes and remember that we're changing the world for the better with our TV and film. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah, you're in Star Wars. Exactly. Yeah, and you're in Star Trek. I know. I'm so jealous. It's gonna happen. Kurtzman's gonna watch this.
And the next one is going to be Michelle Yeoh versus Katee Sackhoff. And it's going to be the most amazing film you've ever seen. I'm writing it in my head right now.
I'm in. Done.
I love it.
This has been wonderful. I could talk to you forever. I feel like now we're friends.
I hope so.
I'm saying this now. We're friends.
Good. Thank God. Oh, passed the test.
Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I know that you're doing so much press right now, so
yeah,
I appreciate it.
It's a lot, but when they came with this, I was like, we're doing it. Like this has to be done. Like I said at the beginning, I am such a fan and such an admirer of all the work you've done, and it's a real treat for me to be doing this with you today. And thank you. And I hope that my unguarded emotional state, which I am forever struggling to put a wall up between, wasn't too overwhelming for your podcast.
No, this is the whole reason why I started this podcast. Was I was tired of not interacting with people authentically anymore. It was,
Yeah.
So that's why I started it. So
welcome
thank
to
you.
Hollywood.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. All right. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Have a beautiful rest of the day.
Thank you.
And I can't wait for people to see this movie, and I can't wait to work with you.
I hope so. Please, from your mouth to God's ears.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
It's fine. I mean, it's 4:20. 4:20 right now.
4:20.
So 4:20 on Friday, Katie.
It's not 4:20 yet. Wait for it. I don't
4:20
smoke
on
weed.
my watch.
Is it on your watch?
Both these are not like digital, neither is mine, so we're kind of guessing.
Completely correct.
But according to my phone,
it's 4:20. So you weren't on for the Rob interview?
No, I wasn't there. So unlike most of our hindsights, we usually do these hindsights a little while after we record the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, you just interviewed Rob yesterday.
Yesterday.
And so because we're giving this one a quick turnaround, we were doing this quickly, and it happened to be when you were already coming into town for some other interviews that we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
wink, wink.
Mm-hmm.
And so we thought we'd do this in person, which worked out well. And so, yeah, I listened to it this afternoon after having not been on the recording, and I have some thoughts. I thought it was very interesting. What did you think?
I was really surprised.
Yeah.
You never know when somebody is promoting something. When someone's coming on to promote something very specific, it's a fine line.
Yeah.
It's a fine line between, I know you're here to promote something, and I absolutely respect that, and I want to give that time because I know that's why you're here. But at the same time, that's not the show that we have. I don't want to only talk about what you're doing this second. I want to talk about life and projects before, and like just a more well-rounded conversation like that I would have with friends.
He seemed very open to it. I mean, he's clearly a fan.
So open.
Yeah, I think just from when we got the initial communication to have him on, he jumped at the chance because, I mean, he's clearly a big sci-fi fan. He's one of these people that is involved in the sci-fi world and very happy to be there. I mean, in the interview, he's pulling out Star Trek references, and I'm like, all right, this guy's legit. He knows what he's talking about.
But what's funny is that when I asked him if it was on purpose, he basically said no.
Yeah.
Like he thinks that he kind of manifested it.
Right. He willed it into existence.
Yeah, but that it was not on purpose, that he doesn't have the luxury of choice. We talk about that so much in this industry, and that to a certain degree, I have had the ability to pick and choose, but not as much as Reese Witherspoon or someone else that's like I am still very aware that money has to come in. I have to make my health insurance, things like that. So if I have a choice between two projects, I will pick the genre project 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. Unless it's a Hallmark movie.
I love it. Unless it's a Hallmark movie, because I also love that. So I find it interesting that he sort of manifested it.
Yeah. I mean, it's very cool. And as far as I'm aware, I haven't watched it yet, but it's out now, right?
It is. It came out the day after we did the interview.
Right. Yeah. So, wait, that's today, right? the day after you did the interview?
That's today, but not February 4th.
Sure.
Which is Robin's birthday.
February 4th is Robin's birthday?
February 4th is my husband's birthday.
And he's going to be
We are 9 years apart for 2 months.
For 2 months. And so he's going to finally be in his
35.
20s. Sorry. He's
is
going to be 35?
Officially into
That's funny because...
mid-30s.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. I guess when people are watching this, it is Robin's birthday.
It is Robin's
right?
birthday.
So happy birthday, Robin.
I know. Happy 35, youngin'.
And you guys are going to sit down and watch Star Trek Section 31?
Of course we are.
For his birthday.
Yeah. No, I was watching it and Robin 2 times was like, what are you watching?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, I told him I needed to watch the new Star Trek movie.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't sound like a Star Trek movie. It
Right.
doesn't. And I talk about this with Rob that, the majority of Star Trek that we know of is told from the perspective of my brain farting, the fleet, the
Starfleet.
The Starfleet. Thank you so much. And it is interesting to see the underbelly of Star Trek. That's that's one of the things I really liked about it. I liked how they took a character and went off in a different tone of Star Trek.
Yeah, and he talks about how that is potentially or has been controversial with the fan base.
This is split 50-50.
Right.
It
And
really
I thought
is.
it was an interesting take on it. I was reading a little bit about it after I listened, and it has been brought up in a lot of the reviews of it, how it sort of takes Star Trek in a direction that is not necessarily what Gene Roddenberry had in mind to begin with. I haven't seen it, and I never watched Discovery, which
But
is
you're
sort
a
of
big Star Trek fan,
I'm
right?
a huge Star Trek fan, and I've had my issues with some of the newer Star Trek in general. I do think it hasn't been as good, would be my generous take on it.
Yeah.
But the reasoning behind doing something different, I am okay with. I think Roddenberry wanted to create this, utopian society, which is all well and good, but it does sort of put you in a box narratively because what happens when the society is perfect? It's sort of the problem with telling a Superman story too. When you have a perfect character, how do you provide drama when there's no conflict?
Well, and that's one of the things that Rob brings up as being a person who's neurodivergent. There's no place for him in Star Trek, in Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. But if you think about it, a neurodivergent character exists in every Star Trek. He was right. He brought that up, and it never occurred to me that you're right.
But yeah, no, I think that's cool. And I mean, you brought up the Cylons as well, although their approach to dealing with humanity was a bit different.
A little bit different. Not trying to understand it.
Yeah.
Trying to destroy it.
Wipe it off the face of whatever.
I was also, by telling him that he's complicated off the top, because he is complicated.
Yeah.
If you look at the things that he's done, some of them can be deemed as mistakes.
Yeah.
In researching him, he had a thing where he was put on hiatus from a show for 2 months from listening to his side of that and doing the research. It was not what was portrayed, but you're not allowed to defend yourself, which I do understand happens.
Right.
Then he walks away from The Hobbit. There's still no real reporting on what happened. It's just something personal happened and he walked away from arguably the biggest opportunity of his life. Obviously doesn't want to talk about it. And I'm not, this is not like we've talked about before, this is not a gotcha show. So I don't want to pry. If someone doesn't want to just let something out, then it's not for us to know.
Yeah.
But I would love to know.
Yeah.
And finding out that he is on the spectrum and he's autistic, I think, and his explanation of his vision of the world and his he takes issue with things that are not right, people that are not right, things that are not fair.
Right.
That tracks with the things that have happened in his life.
a couple of times that he physically picked people up and carried them off of a way.
Yeah.
And in one, and I don't know if it was multiple instances, but in one instance he mentioned that it got him fired from a job.
From a job.
Do you think this was The Hobbit?
I questioned whether or not that was, but then I think he said it was a TV show.
Right.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was I questioned that as well. But again, I guess it's not for us to know.
Yeah.
So,
well, he seemed like he's at least handling everything with a certain amount of grace. And he genuinely now seems just like a guy that loves doing what he's doing. You know, I mean, talking about how he advocated for his character not to die so that he could still, you know, it's the Star Wars is forever, Star Trek is forever thing, you know, I mean, you know, keeping that character going would be great. And I'm sure he's like, this is my chance to be in Star Trek. And then, also he was advocating for you. He said he's going to talk to the Rick Berman for
said he already did.
Did he?
Yeah, he texted me this morning and said he already did. Said,
All
I
right.
see Katie Sackhoff and Michelle Yeoh like battle at some point. I'm getting in Star Trek.
No, you are. You are.
I mean,
and
like,
then you're going to let me visit you on set.
At this point,
yeah.
Like, I mean, you can be maybe they'll give me an assistant and we can just pretend like you're my assistant.
Okay, give me...
But like,
I will only do that if I get a walk-on.
My last assistant,
yeah,
I married. So it's a really good job.
Okay.
Like, I mean, not that I'm going to marry you, but like...
Robin really your assistant?
Do you not know that? I
think I did know that, but I also forgot it. I don't know.
We'll have Robin on to tell that story.
Okay, one other thing I wanted that was in this episode that I wanted to ask you about. I don't know how I missed this little piece of information. I feel like you've probably said it before, but it registered with me for the first time. Your parents owned a pizza place when you were growing up?
My parents owned a place called Sunshine Pizza Exchange in St. Helens. They borrowed $10,000 from my mom's parents. My mom was a teacher. My dad was an unemployed bartender. And he wanted to build houses.
Yeah.
So he, I think, was maybe building like one house a year with a friend of his. And like, he's the guy, like hammer and nails, like he's building houses. He wanted to open a pizza place. And so they borrowed money from my parents. My dad opened Sunshine Pizza Exchange and it became wildly successful.
Wow.
They had 3 locations.
Oh, wow.
By the time they sold it. But I grew up in a pizza place. Like,
is it still around?
It is still around. They sold it.
Wow.
Yeah. They had the Sunshine Pizza, which was the main store, which was a huge pizza place. And then they had 2 takeouts, like you take and bake. So they would make the pizza, you would go home and put it in your oven, and you would make the pizza. So
were you like doing your homework at a booth in these places, or?
So by the time my parents sold it, I was 11.
Yeah.
But I grew up there. So like I would shine brass railings on the weekends with Brasso. I would.
Oh yeah, you have mentioned that before.
Yeah. I mean, like I created the dessert pizza in the kitchen because we were allowed to make pizzas. And
Pizookie?
I took an entire can of like cherry pie filling and like on top of a pizza and put it through the thing. And then they started selling dessert pizzas. Like, you know, it was where I grew up. We played video games. I got so good at claw machines because we got free quarters.
Because I mean, like the 80s, 90s is like the heyday of like arcade game stuff.
We had a huge arcade, which is where I grew up learning how to play like Street Fighter and like all these amazing games and Pac-Man. And and they had, like I said, claw machines and I freaking loved it. And we got free quarters so we could just play forever and ever and ever after school when my parents were working because they worked at the pizza place. My mom taught school, my dad built houses, and they would work all the time. And like kids had their birthday parties there. We had every one of our birthday parties there.
Yeah.
You know, I have so many fond memories of that. My parents like, you know, sponsored Little League teams and, you know, they had these it was a small town and they would have bed races where restaurants would build beds and they would race each other through the streets. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And they sold it. It kept my dad, you know, his dream of life to build houses.
Should we go to the mail sack?
Let's go to the mail sack.
Mail sack. We're going to the mail sack. Mail sack. Why are we calling it mail sack?
Like the DJ DJ over here.
You're like a DJ.
Yeah. Got my turntable right here. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but maybe next time you come, I'll get it up on the screens.
You guys, you can email us at thesackoffshow@gmail.com. Send us your questions, your comments, all that good stuff. And go to wherever you get your podcast and give us a 5-star review, because that's fun.
Yeah,
Do that.
We've got some good one of those.
Yeah.
So I'll give this to you in a second here, but we've asked people some questions at the end of episodes on the last handful of episodes, and we got some answers back on one. And the one that I found a lot of good answers for here is we asked people, what is something that you own that is worth the money? So if you remember, we talked about your Haston's mattress. I talked about coffee, which led to the conversation about that coffee. We also got some people giving us some good feedback on coffee, which I'm going to include in another episode once we get some more info. But here's a selection of some people think is worth the money.
I love coffee, you guys. Like, I literally love coffee. Celeste, toilet paper straight out of the gate. Have you been to Europe?
Yes, I've been to Europe.
I don't know. I have a video somewhere. I need to post this video. Maybe we'll put it in this. It's the day we're leaving, like, Europe, Amsterdam. And I make a video saying I'm so excited to leave Europe because my asshole hurts.
Oh, are you saying in Europe they don't have good toilet paper?
It's like cardboard.
I guess it depends on where you go, but
5-star hotels, Jeff. 5-star hotels.
See, but this is a thing. I don't know, maybe you had this experience growing up. I always associate with the Midwest thing, but it's the same way in the Midwest. No matter where you go, people get the thinnest ply, horrible toilet paper. And for me, it was always a splurge. I agree with Celeste here. I would always, it's not spending that much money to get it. I would always go get the nicer, softer thing. And people would be like, oh, that's going to cost you an extra, you're actually spending an extra like $25 a month on getting the nicer toilet paper. I'm like, yeah, but it's your butthole, man.
The person who spends $15 at Starbucks. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So toilet paper is great. But toilet paper, I agree.
So we use a bidet.
Same.
As well. And we use, instead of toilet paper, we use little muslin baby face cloths.
Are those good for the drain?
You throw them in the washing machine.
I'm sorry, Katie.
Well, so think about it. You're already cleaning your butt.
I guess when you have a child and you're cleaning, do you use reusable diapers?
We do not use reusable diapers. We tried and it was not worth it. But here's my thing. The bidet, if doing its job, should make it so when you wipe and clean up, there's not much left.
Sure.
You're just getting the touch-ups, the final touches.
Sure.
And we're not putting them, like we have a separate garbage can for them that has an interior thing that you lift out and then we dump it right into the washing machine. We wash them separately from everything else. But that's what we use. We have a little cute little wicker thing next to the toilet. And that's what Robin and I use instead of toilet paper. So
I've never heard of this, but...
Really? It's very nice.
It's kind of like... we got a lot of these to get through, but
we do.
It's when you go to you travel somewhere, especially if you go somewhere rustic and you stay in an old house, there's a thing about you're not supposed to put anything down the drain, including toilet paper. Yeah. And that is something I'm still not comfortable with.
Really?
Just putting shit-covered toilet paper into the garbage can right next to me is just, I'm not saying I don't do it because I don't want to break the plumbing in this place.
Them's are the rules.
But it's always I'm wrapping it in
of course, but that's what everyone does. So I do not have a problem at all with bodily fluids. I never have. They don't bother me. If somebody threw up on me, I would just be like, oops, that sucks. I'm not the person that would then vomit.
Okay.
So I am good. I love poop. I love my kids' poop. Robin hands me the baby to change the poop.
We're recording this, Katie, right?
So it doesn't, maybe I'm different. Maybe it doesn't bother me. But there is something really great about the muslin washcloths that they use for little babies are super soft. And it's touching a freaking marshmallow to my
Yet
asshole
again,
every day.
We found another thing that Katie, I guess you're actually
saving
money that way. Yeah, you're saving
money. There you go.
There
Brandon, they don't cost a lot, but the hobby's expensive. I paint Star Wars miniatures. I do enjoy a good bourbon as well. Brandon, do you know that Sam Witwer does this as well? You should look at Sam Witwer's stuff.
I'm sure he does. He famously does it.
Famously does it.
Yeah.
Jake, good food, 100%.
Yeah, that's worth it.
But I can also eat shitty food. Can you eat shitty food?
Yes.
Like I can eat
eat all
McDonald's.
kinds of food, to be honest, but I also I do find it to be important to go get good food, like treat yourself to a nice meal. It's one of the like rare human pleasures. It's you know, honestly, it's up there with sex. Having good food is like one of the pleasures that we can have as humans.
We took my mom to the French Laundry for her birthday.
Yeah.
I had been once before, about 20 years ago. Still one of the best bites, one single bites of food I've ever had in my entire life. And I've been dreaming about that one bite for 20 years.
Yeah.
I still had it on the menu.
Amazing.
My mom, it was so worth it. And my mom, who does not like to spend the money she has, enjoyed herself.
Yeah.
Like it was really wonderful.
Yeah.
Good food brings up memories and smell. Like people have, I mean,
that's why I like shitty food sometimes, because it has nostalgia value to
100%.
it. Like Jimmy John's for me. I know some people don't like Jimmy John's. Some people hate Jimmy John's.
All I know about tell me about you love Jimmy John's.
Well, it's from Champaign, Illinois, and I was born in Champaign, Illinois, and grew up right around. And so like my whole life, I had Jimmy John's. My friends worked at Jimmy John's in Chicago. I lived off day-old bread from Jimmy John's. So when I was just in the Midwest, we had some Jimmy John's, and it's not good, but
you love it.
But it's comfort food in a way.
Our Ginny's surrogate, you're not allowed to have cold cuts while you're pregnant, and she had her dad bring her 8-foot-long Jimmy John's the moment Ginny was born. And we walked into her room and the Jimmy John's was already out.
Yeah.
She was eating it.
Yeah.
And we were like, do you want anything
Jimmy
else?
John's in.
She was like, maybe some sushi. So, Jennifer, my 2 adopted cats, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Having animals are expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't get that.
My dog has cost me a lot of money, and I would gladly spend it again.
So much money.
Yeah.
My dog just had to have biopsies of his liver.
Oof. Is
Like,
it okay?
We don't know. He's got elevated liver enzymes. It's a whole nother story. But yeah, trust me, it's not fun. Philip says, my tankless water heater, hell yeah, love it. Now my wife can have her long hot showers and not worry about running out of hot water. Philip, we had a tankless here in Los Angeles and I loved it.
Yeah.
We have a tank here in Oregon, but it seems to be big enough because we don't run out of hot water. We take hour-long showers. Don't feel guilty about it. We live in fucking Oregon.
You do. There's too much
one of the
water
reasons
there.
why we moved to Oregon.
Yeah, too much water up there.
Too much water.
Yeah.
At the Goat Pig, love it, says, buying a convertible. I live in Florida, worth it. And electric drum sets, they don't last as long as acoustic drums. The convertible, I understand. I had a convertible in high school and I loved it.
In the Pacific Northwest?
Oh, yeah.
How did that go?
So I always left the top on the Wrangler and I just would take the sides off in the winter
was it
sometimes.
A Jeep convertible?
It was a Jeep convertible,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Wasn't one of those ones where you have to hit the button and it
It was
goes
not
up.
that cool.
Yeah.
God, that would have been nice. No, it took like an hour and a half to put the damn thing on.
Yeah, my friend had one of those, but he never had the hard top for it. He always had the soft top.
Yeah.
And he lived in Chicago, and one time he offered me he's from my hometown, and he offered me a ride back to my hometown, and it was the middle of winter, and we rode the 2.5 hours from Chicago to my hometown with the soft top on the Jeep, and it was miserable.
Yeah, been there. Like mine was a soft top.
Yeah.
I know. Trust me. At Sharon Schulman 2688 says special family vacations. I get that.
Yeah.
100%.
It's
Food
fun.
and trips, man.
Food and trips. Spend time with your family. Eat good food.
We think that for Christmas now, we're going to start going on trips instead of buying presents.
That's fun.
We think we might do that. My
Do you think
mother
your
will murder us.
Yeah, I think your small children will like that.
I don't
Children
know.
love presents.
They do.
Yeah.
But
You know what you're gonna do?
Huh.
You're gonna go on the trip, and you're still gonna get them presents.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I'm learning to not spoil my kid. I'm trying. I say no now.
It's hard because you love them and you want to give them everything. I mean, I have a niece and nephew who I spoil.
Well, and our love language is buying gifts.
That's true. That's
so
true.
I love to buy her things because I know it makes her happy.
My brother actually asked me on this trip, because this is not a sponsor, but they could be. Do you know KiwiCo?
No.
It's this service that you can sign up for, and every month they send a activity craft box.
Oh, so
to
sort of
a
like
child.
Love Every.
Sure, I
Yeah.
don't know that, but yeah. And but it's like STEM related stuff. So it's like, build this thing, and it all has like a sort of lesson to it, and they tailor it for age ranges.
That is so cool.
And I got it for them for Christmas one year, and I just got like 6 months, and they just loved it so much that I just extended the thing and
That's
haven't
so
turned
cool.
it off. But the problem is now that they're both in school and they're all these things. And my brother was like, "Is there a way you can give us less of them?"
Yeah.
Because they've got like a stack in the closet that the
And
kids
they
haven't
haven't
gotten
done.
to yet.
Yeah. It's we just started doing school with Ginny at home.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to, Robin found this thing on the iPad and put her in front of the iPad for like 15 minutes, and she became a demon when we turned it off. And I was like, no, we're not doing it on the iPad. We have to figure out something different. And he and I both agreed that like we cannot start this screen time every single day, even if it's for learning. So we got leapfrogs for her, like this leapfrog pad. So we'll see how it works.
Yeah.
We'll see how it works. But because she wants to read.
Yeah.
She wants to read her own books.
Wasn't she reading your Wonder Woman book or whatever?
She like loves.
Yeah.
Loves. She came downstairs the other day. She's got a library book and a book we just bought her. We go to the bookstore and sometimes she can pick out a book. And they're 5-minute princess stories. One is water stories and one is like princess stories. And she comes downstairs. The pictures are completely different in these two stories. They're both Moana stories. The pictures are completely different. She can't read.
Right.
But she comes downstairs and she goes, I've made a discovery. She's carried these huge books downstairs all by herself. She was doing quiet time upstairs. And she goes, it's the same story.
She's like, it's like,
and we're looking at it and I'm like, the pictures are different, but the words are identical. And I was like,
it's like her own little Da Vinci Code. She's like putting it together.
Yeah.
When you don't know what words are and they just look like symbols, you're like putting them together and her brain is like,
yeah.
Yeah.
She understands story so much that I think that she could figure out that the pictures, even though they were different,
yeah,
were telling the same story.
It's like that famous meme of you with all the the math equations are in it.
People think it's me. All right. I was listening to the Lou Diamond Phillips episode and you spoke about the oldest profession, prostitution. I thought you'd like to know a little trivia fact I found out. If you wanted to visit with a prostitute in the 12th century London, you would likely visit Grape Cunt Lane.
No, read that again.
If you wanted to visit with a prostitute in 12th century London, you would likely visit Grape Cunt Lane.
Is it grape?
Grope Cunt Lane?
Grope Cunt Lane.
It's Grope Cunt. I don't have my glasses on. It's Grope Cunt.
It's Grope Cunt Lane.
Grope Cunt Lane. London had at least 2 Grope Cunt Lanes. Oxford, Bristol, York, Newcastle, and Southampton all had Grope Cunt Lane streets. By the 15th century, most of Grope Cunt Lanes had been renamed Grove or Grape, replacing Grope, and Cunt being dropped completely. Grope Cunt Lane in Oxford is now known as Magpie Lane today and is still virtually identical as it was in 12th to 15th century, except for it having prostitutes, I think.
Yeah. So that's a fun little. I looked it up and it's mostly true. I couldn't verify all the facts, but in London it was called Grope Cunt Lane.
Yeah.
Normally we have been bleeping out the C words.
We have been.
But I don't know if we have to bleep out Grope Cunt because it's technically a historical street.
And if we do not take out Grope Cunt and we get demonetized, I'm going to challenge it.
Yeah. It's got a Wikipedia article.
It has a Wikipedia.
Yeah.
That's just censorship.
I think that's the kind of email that I would love to get more of. I find that very
you guys
send
us weird facts.
Yeah.
Send us your weird facts. I love that.
They don't have to be about prostitution either. They
can be about anything, but send us weird facts. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
This has been really great. We need to get out of here because I got to go sit. We both got to sit in traffic. But you guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Go watch Section 31. And we will see you next Tuesday. And that's what's up.